Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Big Show. This is Investing and Trading Live. As always, my name is Josh Lilquist, and today, I tell you what, we have a special guest on the show here today. I have a special guest, Michael Young, on the show. I'm going to introduce him in a second here. We're going to cover a couple different topics on the market, but I'm going to actually get his insight on the state of the stock market. One being crude oil. We're going to talk about that. That will actually be the futures market. But that being said, Michael, how you doing today?
I'm doing really good, thank you.
It's good to have you on the show. And I know we did a podcast. It was this summer. We were walking down the street here, and we were doing the podcast. And I had looked, and we didn't even have audio going. So I'm glad we have audio working this time.
Perfect.
And it's going to be a good show here. But I just wanted to pick your brain real quick. We got about 6 to 8 minutes here. I want to cover the state of the market. What are you seeing, or what do you have as far as for my listeners? Some hints and tricks and tips on what this market might do moving forward here.
Well, in terms of forecasting direction, obviously we've had a lot of volatility lately. We have not only what's going on in Ukraine, we have what's going on in the Middle East. We have all of these looming things about a government shutdown. It's creating just enormous volatility. The opportunities, I'd say, over the last 2 months trading have been fantastic. And I want to focus. This is a trader's market. It's not an investor's market.
What do you mean by that?
I just mean that buy and hold right now would make no sense. We're really at the tail end of a bull market that took 12 years. The odds are we ultimately are going to be going lower. So when we buy and sell right now, we're just doing it for a shorter term horizon. This is not long-term stuff at the moment.
When you mean short term, are you talking, is it like, because people think day trading is a scary thing. What do you mean by shorter term?
Well, shorter term, yesterday in class, we were actually involved in a short trade in the NASDAQ futures that lasted about 3 hours. And it was very, very profitable. There's no problem either with swing trading now. So if you want to play, 2-3 weeks ago, crude oil closed on a Friday. It was actually October 6th. At a great demand area, which for us is a buy zone. Now, had you bought there, the Hamas attack was literally the next day, and oil exploded. But it exploded. It took about a week right up to the target, which was on the chart as a supply zone.
Yeah, you talking about that $88 to $90 mark?
Yeah,
Yep.
And at that point, it turned lower again. So even though nothing is any better in the Middle East, and there's still going to be a huge problem there, oil for the last week now has been getting clobbered. So sometimes there's a disconnect between what the news would get you to think and the actual opportunities. We focus on the chart.
Yeah, I believe the oil, just for our viewers on the YouTube stream right now, on the Friday the 20th. Yeah, so this past Friday, it was up to 89.
Yeah, and it was actually right there is where it closed on Friday the 6th. And then the next morning was the attack.
Yeah, it gapped up to 86, and then it came back down a little bit, but then it shot right back to that $90
So
supply zone.
the target would have gotten you out and the ability to short. And it would have been hard to short because of all the news, but that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned that it'll be hard to short because of the news. The news may have drove some of this, but ultimately supply and demand runs the markets, right?
It totally does. But the retail investors typically are very emotional and they're focused on news. And, the news, if you listen to it, a lot of these moves have already happened. So sometimes bad news, gives you buying opportunities and vice versa.
Yeah. So with the market going, potentially going down, we've been talking about that for a long time. It happened already once. We've had a retracement back up and everything. But we have a lot of listeners that have retirement accounts. And because I want to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about options, because people that have retirement accounts, and if they just let them sit, obviously they're going to lose a bunch of money in their retirement account, and they're going to say, "Oh, honey, I wish we'd have done something different." What are the opportunities, let's just say, with options to protect somebody's portfolio?
Well, options were created to be insurance vehicles. So if you know what you're doing, you can actually buy a certain kind of an option called a put, where if the market does drop, those go up in value. So there's a way to offset risk, hedge an account, but you can downright use options to actually make money in a down market as well. So there's a lot of hedging strategies. We also teach people how to rebalance their portfolios. So
Sure.
If you can get to the point where you're managing your own retirement account, then you can use things other than mutual funds, which are pretty rotten as vehicles.
I like that. They're pretty rotten. That's a good way to say that. No, it's not very often I get to bring a former floor trader on the show. You were on the Chicago Board of Options, was it? For
Yeah.
20 something
25
years?
years, yes.
25 years. Now, the transition from being a floor trader to, we'll call it a computerized trader, because it's all electronic now. What are some of the advantages that you're seeing now compared to what you had then?
Well, now, when I was on the floor back then, it was a very physical game, and you were shoulder to shoulder with people screaming and yelling. There were a lot of benefits down there, but the benefit to doing this now, if you know what you're doing, is it doesn't matter how old you are or how strong or weak you are. You can actually be sick and have COVID and still be trading all week long. You get in when you want to and you get out when you want to. On the floor, there were a lot of times where we were obligated to get into trades that we didn't want to. So
Sure.
I think the power and control you have now, if you have a skill set, puts you in a great place, because you're not looking at just one pit. You're looking at the whole world.
Yeah.
Anytime opportunity pops up, you're there.
Is it much more relaxing for you now? It was. I'm sure it was just chaos.
Yes, it is.
What was a typical day on the floor?
Well, if it was a busy day, it was likely that you never even left the pit. You couldn't take a bathroom break because all day long you were screaming and yelling. Normally, there'd be very busy mornings. You could take a break midday, busy afternoons. But you were screaming and yelling, and, we didn't have, sometimes it was not easy to know what your positions were, because, it took hours before your clearing firm would actually give you that. So you had to keep track of everything. Now you just press a button and it's all done for you. So the technology is great, but the problem is that it's like we've been given a loaded gun. Most people just jump in and open an account and start trading, and then they get their money taken away.
Yeah, I talk about that every so often. The market's it's easily accessible, and it's almost too easy to get into the market, but it's designed to do that. So the people that don't know what they're doing can open an account, fund it, put money in it, and just hope.
Well, think of the E-Trade baby commercials years
Back
ago.
in the
and
early
think,
2000s.
And think of Robinhood now. I mean,
Yeah.
how many people have just opened these accounts? They don't know what they're doing. You might get lucky, but then you're going to get punched in the face.
Yeah, you ever seen that commercial? There's an old guy with hip waders on. He's got the fishing rod. He's like, oh, you got to be a little quicker than that. That's what they're doing. Is the institutions are putting little bait for the public, isn't it?
Well, I think so, because they talk about how much upside there is, and obviously there is a lot of upside, but you have to learn the skill first, however you choose to learn it.
That's the problem. Is people get into the market, get into the arena without that education and that skill to be able to do it. This is just like anything we do in our life.
Well, everything now, everybody's defaulting to YouTube for free information.
Yeah.
And, there's more information out there now than there ever has been, but the public is doing worse than they've ever done before. So clearly that's not the answer.
Yeah. No, I appreciate your insight. It's nice getting some insight from a former floor trader that's been in the pits and really knows how the market actually functions. And I look forward to doing some more shows. I know you got to do a lot of things today. You're a busy guy, and it's nice seeing a wild and crazy guy back in the day on the pits, and you're such a nice guy. So I appreciate you coming on the show, Michael.
Thank you, man. See you soon.
All right, talk to you later. Thanks,
Bye.
guys.